just a little runaway. 47 years and still I'm on the run. Afraid of love, I'm keeping God at bay. Spending days in a nightmare ain't much fun. I am just a little runaway. For my misery, always blaming someone else. I'm really into judgment and delay, but only hurting me and I and myself.
Welcome, everybody, and more importantly, mind that happens to be here today. You know, just to build on yesterday, I did not wake in any fear this morning. There was a lot of inspiration coming through, and it has to do with, well, a clearing I had, actually. These little prayers at one time were just direct quotes from A Course in Miracles. And if you notice, they've been changed to be more, gender inclusive. And when these were done, because remember, I'm the one that crossed out all the his and he's to she's and it's and whatever in my original book. So when they did this to be more gender inclusive, I thought, well, that's not really necessary. Again, a judgment on my part. And I'm always humbled with my judgments. So there's one line in here that just jumped out at me when this change happened. And the line was, I will be healed as I let love teach me to heal. Mm-hmm. Now, in the book, it's, I will be healed as I let God teach me to heal. Now, herein lies kind of some of my confusion with images such as God, Holy Spirit, the human version of what they supposedly look like. And what I'm getting more and more, God is an experience. God is not in physical form. Jesus isn't even in physical form, but I happen to have a picture of Jesus in my room because I like it. He's smiling and he's really hot. So, that's kind of me kind of turning the tides on all those statues I was raised with, my Irish Catholic heritage of bleeding Jesus on the cross. They were all over the house, and it was, it was a hard act to follow, and yet I did. I took on suffering like it was my primary responsibility to suffer. And so in this prayer, where I let God teach me to heal, I am healed as I let God teach me to heal, there was a sense of me shirking my responsibilities, and it wasn't even a responsibility, shirking my role in accepting the atonement. It was like, God's going to handle it. I don't have to. God's going to handle it. And the reality is, no, I'm really necessary for this process called the atonement. And no one's going to do it for me as much as I really wanted it to be done for me. That's not the way this game plays out. I have to do something. I have to clear the blocks that I have in my mind. Again, it's the self-study portion of this work that we're doing. It's like, where am I blocking love? So, in the parable of Calico and being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, healing was kind of a big topic. And I went on it with much level confusion. And the level confusion was me thinking that form was going to change. Form changes all the time. Form will never be consistent from one day to the next, ever, in this horizontal arena. So when I started this journey of looking into healing as a topic, And also to say, I was a chiropractor for 35 years in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So, you know, I had a lot vested in healing. And much confusion. Because I can pretty much say for probably 30 of the 35 years when people would come to see me, I was seeing what correction needed to be made. And that's just not the way it goes. And so this journey has been one of really unlearning all of that. And I can't say it's been easy, because it hasn't, because I believed in the fact that I had some semblance of control in changing the outcome of this form, be it by diet, treatments, doctors. And the reality is, you know, and it says in the book, and I'm going to read something that came to me last night. If the fear is too high, seek help. This is not a right-wrong thing. There's no right-wrong in it. It's just, where am I at? And I had someone call me for a counseling session, and it was interesting for me. It was a very interesting session. She went on and on and on about some pain that she was having. It felt like it was starting in her mouth, and it was shooting up in her head and her arm. And she went on for about a half an hour of this, you know, what was going on and how she wanted to heal it in mind. Because again, level confusion is, I want to change form, but the only thing I have any hope of changing is my mind. That's level confusion. If I'm not going to my mind to change something, I'm confusing the levels. And I must say, it wasn't until probably a year, well, no, it was even more recent than that. You know, David Hoffmeister, on one of his live retreats, said to me, oh God, and it was just this one phrase. He said, Calico, you cannot heal yourself. And this has been said to me more than one occasion in Living Miracles, and it brought up some degree of A, confusion, B, anger, and C, I'll show you. And all I can say is, I keep coming back to, there is nothing to do for this body. It is all for me to be aware of the fact that I am the Christ. I am playing out in this illusion some curriculum that I have. It includes whatever it includes, and it's for me to make peace with what is. And as I say that, even as I say that right now, I go, wow, that's so simple. And yet that's not been my experience going through it. You know, I feel like I've done battle with my brain. And I feel like there's some degree of peace coming into it now because, you know, to be, real honest, that's why I'm up here. This that I call Calico is not a form I would have ever wanted for my worst enemy, really. And yet it's the form that I find myself moving through this parable or this illusion with. And so there's been a lot of making peace with what is. And the more I make peace with what is, and that's, I'm accepting the atonement on the projection called Calico. Because the projection called Calico didn't measure up to what I felt it should be. It didn't look like it should be. I had plans of how it should look. And this wasn't it on any level. And then the cancer happened, and that was the last straw. It's like, oh, shit. You know, my whole career field was into really, and this, I mean, I'm saying this in all my arrogance. I was working on healing cancer. You know, I was doing the big vitamin mineral IV drips and chelation therapy and urine therapy. And I mean, I had every therapy known to God going on. And it was all in order to create a healthier form, a better form. And I'm not doing that. In fact, the more I've really worked on this, of really forgiving myself for the body that I am, and it's really every single atonement I accept, and root around in to pull out the belief that I have in place that has kept this so serious. That I have to take care of it. And if I don't take care of it, something like cancer will happen. And then the worst that could have happened, happened. I got cancer diagnosis. And I must say, and this came up actually in hospice with my hospice nurse. This is how much anger I had at this form. When I told her, and I had been on a lot of treatments while I was in hospice, steroids, one of them, and I gained like 100 pounds in 1 year. And I told her that I could handle dying from cancer. I couldn't handle living fat. And there was much shame in that. And I'm just, last night when I woke up, there was just some degree of peace, of just knowing I was going to be coming here and sharing to you. And I thought, what's there? And it's like, I think what's there is the joy that and it is work. I'm not going to say it's not work, because it has been work doing battle with my thinking. But as a result of it, the more I have forgiven this form, the more that I've forgiven those things that I wanted differently in this form, it disappears. And I don't see it. And that's, Gary Renard, the disappearance of the universe. Well, I'm going through my own personal version of it, the disappearance of Calico. And it's, and they're still there. I can still hear these murmurings of, oh, well, maybe there's still hope. You can die thin. And it's like, and what if I could just take on learning how to live? Amen. So with that, and I think we're going to do another altar session today. I'm feeling, it's all for me. So as I read this, and it goes along with this theme of, I will be healed as I let love teach me to heal, or I will be healed as I let God teach me to heal. I share this with anyone that's dealing with body issues of any kind. Be gentle. If there's something to do, go to the doctor. It's like this woman that was explaining all this head pain and how she's praying every day and it's not changing and she doesn't know what to do. And I said, just at the very end of it, I said, and you could go to a dentist. And that's not wrong. That's just, maybe that's what's necessary to get you back on track. I mean, I don't know. I went through it the way I went through it, but I do know for A Course in Miracles, and there was a dear woman I was working with while I was at Living Miracles. Lila lived in Hawaii, and she was a part of the community. And we'd have long Skype sessions. I mean, we'd have like hour-long eye-gazing Skype sessions. And she was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. And it's interesting, the very first Beyond the Body I ever did, Lila was on with me. And then I asked her to come back. And her caregiver told me that she had set up her little altar where she always joined on the online stuff and then passed away. And so she never connected with me on that call. But there was so much healing in that relationship. And one of the things I got from her that I pass on to whomever's dealing with anything physical, being in the vertical, and I'm going to share something real special on Sunday about this, but being in the vertical, pain is impossible. Because pain works like this. I have a headache. Oh, I've had this headache before. I'm in the past. Oh, how long is this going to go on? I'm in the future. You know, I had a whole line set up when I'd catch a common cold. Well, 3 days coming, 3 days with you, and 3 days going. I mean, and that's just setting myself up for being on the timeline. When the reality is, if I'm in the present moment, no matter what's going on with me, it cannot affect me. Unless I'm thinking of myself as a human being on a timeline. And so I offer that to you because it is totally possible to get there with pain in the body. It just takes a lot of commitment to training the mind. All I can say is I did it in meditation. And it was like, just stay present, stay here, listen to the birds. Don't go into the pain. Don't go into the body. Don't go into the breath. Focus on a candle, listen to the birds, somehow stay outside the body, and it is totally doable. And all pain will disappear once it's held in the vertical, because that's where Christ is. And pain is impossible when I'm totally in my Christ mind. And I don't stay there. I slip out of it, I come back into it, but it's great practice. Because whenever I have a pain, I'm immediately in prayer about it. Where am I harboring some idea that something's wrong? Because it doesn't live in the body. There's no making peace with this, except in my mind. And so when I have a pain that appears to be coming from this, and I don't feel like there's any resentments harbored left about the body, it has to be that I'm making something wrong in the horizontal timeline. And that's what's keeping me stuck. So it's only through really, and I say just do whatever you have found to work to get you in the vertical. And practice that more and more and more, because the more vertical we get, the more it becomes an unconscious process that we just are there. So with that being said, I'm just going to read, and this is in chapter 2, The Function of a Miracle Worker. I'm just going to say, most people have a very misunderstood idea of what miracle working is. I know I did. And this is, one of the concepts in A Course in Miracles that's very different to the concept that we hold of miracle working. Miracle working is that we're going to change form. That you'll be healed, whatever. You're depressed, you won't be depressed. You have one leg, you'll grow another leg. I mean, it's this idea that, and Jesus used miracles to help bring people closer to the light. It wasn't like, and And we're just going to all run around and touch each other, and the hems of your clothing, and your life is going to spring like a daisy in form. In mind, peace gets reestablished very quickly. But what I do know, any expectation I have of healing form I'm gonna burn in hell. I am gonna suffer greatly. And the quicker I change my mind about that, the happier I become. And so my idea of heaven is form is whatever form is, and I'm at peace. Because if I'm at peace, who cares what I look like to you? I don't. I have lips, and that's all God needs for me right now. So the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. I love that, himself. I immediately wanted to make it herself. It's funny. This means you recognize that mind is the only creative level, and that its errors are healed by the atonement. Once you accept this, your mind can only heal. By denying your mind any destructive potential and reinstating its purely constructive powers, you place yourself in a position to undo the level confusion of others. And I read this last night and I went, wow, that's kind of cool. As I undo my level confusion, it'll be undone for everyone. And I hadn't really thought of it. I know as I heal, we're all healed. And, I can say all the platitudes. I've said them many, many, many times. But this one really nailed me. It was like, I need to undo my level confusion, and it will benefit the whole sonship. The message you then give to them is the truth that their minds are similarly constructive, and their miscreations cannot hurt them. Their miscreations cannot hurt them. My miscreations cannot hurt me. By affirming this, you release the mind from over-evaluating its own learning device and restore the mind to its true position as the learner. Humility, once again. It should be emphasized again that the body does not learn any more than it creates. As a learning device, it merely follows the learner. But if it is falsely endowed with self-initiative, it becomes a serious obstruction to the very learning it should facilitate. Self-initiative, that's like, oh God, in the beginning of this, everyone had an idea of how to cure cancer. Thousands of them. And I'd been doing most of them. And that was my own initiative to change the body, to fix the body. And all I can say in the illusion, some get fixed, some don't get fixed. I had a huge belief, huge, of why do good people have bad things happen to them? And that's just all slimy with judgment. What's a good person? What's a bad person? There are no good people. There are no bad people. So as soon as I saw that belief, it just strangled me. Because all of a sudden I had all this shame because I was a bad person. I had to be, because good people wouldn't have this done to them. And that's where the shame comes up. And I'm one of those people, boy, I tell you, originally, I don't have any shame. I have no shame. The reality is, start really working with your mind, and there's a lot of shame to go around. It's the only reason we're still here. Only the mind is capable of illumination. I have a fascination with black holes. Did have a fascination. Black holes are just singularities that are so dense gravity can't even fit in them. You know, they're so dense. So when I heard this, I thought of myself as a black hole. This dense body will not allow light in. My mind will. The body's just on a timeline, birth to death. The mind, however, can bring its illumination to the body by recognizing that it is not the learner and is therefore unamenable to learning. The body is, however, easily brought into alignment with a mind that has learned to look beyond it toward the light. And that's my path, is to look beyond body or form of any kind and learn to heal through love. To allow love to teach me to heal. Where I don't have love in my heart for something or someone, to stick with it until I do. And be just as committed as to anything I have ever done. You know, when I find a bone that says, oh, I don't love this, it's for me to sit with that bone and Holy Spirit and allow the shift to take place. And it always does. It's not necessarily easy. I go through whatever process I go with it, but I'm unwilling to harbor these resentments. I really feel like if the only reason I've said this many times, if the only reason I'm here on the planet is to continue to seek out, like a heat-seeking missile, all those thoughts in my mind that are making something wrong, bad, different, need to be corrected, whatever. And it's like, if that's the whole reason for me being, then that's okay, that's perfect. And if I'm on my last dying breath and I'm forgiving myself for thinking something, that's perfect. And that's where I find myself this morning. And there's a lot of gratitude of just being at the level of peace that I find myself. So I would just like to do another altar session and just, and really, you don't have to share anything. I do, personally, I have this belief, and it's probably just a silly belief, that if you speak it out loud, the power of the speaking of the prayer is huge, because it just shows our willingness to be humble. Oh my God, I really hate my brother. and I do have resentment against my brother, and it's like, and that's just why I'm here, and love will teach me to heal. And so what's on your heart? Where is the area that you want love to heal? What part of your mind is making something or someone wrong that you really are ready to let go and see differently? So with that, I'll open it up, and I am going to pass the mic around because it's a big group.
It was just a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God